legends last.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rogues Prime Galleria. I'm your host, Todd H., coming to you from an undisclosed location in the Sunshine State, probably from a padded room, because that's where we do these things. And tonight, we're going to have a story about H. Holmes, the Beast of Chicago. Let's say if you're going to stay in Chicago, probably not best to stay at his hotel. Anyway, please hit those like and subscribe buttons and share if you like. We're on Mondays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every week. So don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss our shows. Please do that. It really helps the channel out, and it only takes a second. But right now, let's get into it.
All right, so get ready, because today we're diving into the story of H. Holmes.
Yeah.
We're going to really unpack this biographical text focusing on his crimes and his personal life.
Okay.
Picture this. Chicago, late 1800s, a city on the cusp of the World's Fair. It's a time of incredible growth, but also a time when someone like Holmes could easily slip through the cracks.
Yeah, it's fascinating how this period of progress and innovation could also provide cover for such a dark figure. The city's rapid expansion, influx of people, created a sense of anonymity, which Holmes, a man with a hidden past and multiple identities, could exploit to his advantage.
And talk about hiding a past, he ditches his birth name, Herman Webster Mudgett.
Wow.
And reinvents himself as H. Holmes. Why the name change? Was it simply to escape past misdeeds, or was there something more calculated at play?
Makes you wonder. Yeah, if the new name was part of a deliberate strategy to construct a new persona, especially as he embarked on his criminal enterprises. The name change coincided with his move to Chicago, marking a turning point where Mudgett, the troubled young man, transformed into Holmes, the cunning con man.
Okay, so let's rewind a bit and delve into those early years. What can you tell us about Holmes's upbringing?
Well, his childhood was far from idyllic.
Yeah.
Growing up with strict religious parents and an abusive alcoholic father must have left a deep mark.
Right.
Imagine being a child and being forced to interact with a skeleton.
Oh, wow.
It's no wonder that he developed this morbid fascination with death.
That's a pretty disturbing image. And to think that early exposure to death, coupled with the dissection of animals, kind of foreshadows the horrors he would later inflict. But what about his medical training? Did that play a role in shaping his criminal mind?
I mean, his time in medical school is crucial to understanding his methods. He even resorted to grave robbing with a professor to procure cadavers. Think about that. Someone studying to heal and save lives, already entangled in such a dark, unethical practice.
It's like he saw the human body not as something sacred, but as a tool.
Right.
A means to an end. But let's jump ahead to Chicago. This is where the infamous murder castle enters the picture. I'm sure you've heard all the stories, the rumors of torture chambers, gas chambers, even a crematorium. What's the truth behind those sensationalized accounts?
Yeah, the murder castle is a prime example of how myth and reality can intertwine.
Mm-hmm.
It's true the building had hidden rooms and secret passages, but not for the reasons you might think.
Okay.
Holmes wasn't running some elaborate torture chamber. He was using those spaces to hide furniture that he bought on credit.
Oh, wow.
Desperate attempt to stay afloat financially.
So the reality of the murder castle is more about financial deception than some grand macabre scheme.
Right.
That's a surprising twist. But that doesn't make it any less creepy, especially considering the building burned down under mysterious circumstances after Holmes's arrest.
It's interesting to think about that fire, though, you know? Was it an attempt to destroy evidence or just an unfortunate coincidence? And then there's the fact that the building was rebuilt and used as a post office for years. Imagine sorting mail in a place with such a dark history. It adds another layer of intrigue to the whole story, doesn't it?
Definitely adds a shiver to sending out those holiday cards. But he also owned a factory, right?
Yeah.
Not exactly the kind of side hustle you'd expect from a doctor.
You're right. The factory adds another dimension to the mystery. It was a one-story building, fueling speculation that Holmes used it to, dispose of evidence, further blurring the lines between fact and fiction.
Okay, so we've got this mysterious murder castle, a shady factory, a man living a double life. It all sets the stage for a truly chilling story. But at the heart of this story are the victims. I imagine separating fact from fiction when it comes to the victims must be incredibly challenging.
You'd be surprised how difficult it is to untangle the truth. Holmes was a master manipulator, a pathological liar, and forensics back then were nowhere near as advanced as they are today.
Right.
It's a murky picture, but we can piece together some confirmed murders from the limited evidence available.
Let's start with Julia Smythe and her daughter Pearl.
Okay.
Their disappearance is particularly heartbreaking.
Imagine the fear and uncertainty they must have felt. Julia, Holmes's mistress, and her young daughter vanish on Christmas Eve. Holmes, as you might expect, spins a web of lies about their whereabouts, claiming Julia was visiting family or ran off with someone else.
Classic manipulation tactic.
Yeah.
Create confusion, deflect suspicion. But he also claimed Julia died during an abortion, right?
Yes, which, given his medical background, seems highly improbable, wouldn't you say? And to make matters worse, a partial skeleton of a child, possibly Pearl's, is discovered later. It's a chilling reminder that Holmes's actions had devastating consequences for innocent lives.
It's hard to grasp the cruelty of someone who could harm a child.
Yeah.
But sadly, Julia and Pearl weren't the only victims. What about Emmeline Sigrand?
Right.
She disappeared after working for Holmes, and her story seems equally shrouded in mystery.
Emmeline is another young woman who vanished into thin air after becoming entangled with Holmes. She was last seen in December of 1892. And while Holmes claimed she had run off to get married, her skeleton was later found, exposing yet another lie.
It's becoming clear that Holmes had a pattern. Young women enter his orbit, disappear under suspicious circumstances, and their remains are later discovered, often hidden away as if he was trying to erase any trace of their existence.
And then we have the Williams sisters, Minnie and Annie. Their story highlights Holmes's cold, calculated approach to deception and exploitation.
What happened to them? Were they lured by promises of a better life only to meet a tragic end?
Lured by the allure of wealth and travel, the sisters were persuaded to sign over their property to Holmes, and then they vanished. It's a stark reminder that Holmes wasn't just a killer, he was a con man who preyed on people's hopes and dreams. And it gets even more disturbing when you realize that he used Minnie's name in future scams after her disappearance.
Oh, wow. It's almost as if he was taunting the authorities, flaunting his ability to manipulate and deceive. But there's one victim whose story is particularly chilling, and that's Benjamin Pitzel. He wasn't just a random victim, he was actually Holmes's accomplice in insurance fraud.
Pitzel's story reveals the depths of Holmes's depravity. Not only did he murder Pitzel and burn his body to collect insurance money, but he also took Pitzel's 3 children, Alice, Nellie, and Howard, under his wing, separating them from their mother and leading them on a twisted journey that ended in unimaginable horror.
The murder of the Pitzel children is one of the most well-documented aspects of the case, and it's truly horrifying.
It is. To think that he could so callously murder a man and then systematically kill his children one by one, it's simply beyond comprehension.
Yeah.
Alice and Nellie were asphyxiated in a trunk, their small bodies discarded like unwanted possessions. And then there's Howard, drugged and dismembered, his remains scattered and burned. It's a testament to the depths of human cruelty.
It's a stark reminder that evil can wear many faces, and that sometimes the most monstrous acts are committed by those who appear charming and trustworthy on the surface. But the confirmed murders are just the tip of the iceberg, right? There's a long list of individuals suspected to have crossed paths with Holmes and met a similar fate.
You're absolutely right. The names John DeBruhl, Emily Van Tassel, Dr. Rustler, Kitty Kelly, they echo in the annals of this case. Each representing a life potentially cut short, a family left with unanswered questions and enduring pain.
And then there are the unidentified remains found on a farm years later, adding another layer of mystery and suggesting that the true extent of Holmes's crimes may never be fully known.
Right.
It's a sobering thought, isn't it?
It is. The stories of the confirmed and suspected victims serve as a constant reminder that behind the sensationalized headlines and the morbid fascination with H.H. Holmes lies a trail of human suffering that we must never forget.
Okay, so we've established that Holmes was a master manipulator, a con man who preyed on the vulnerable, and a cold-blooded killer. But how did this reign of terror finally come to an end?
Ironically, Holmes' downfall began with a relatively minor offense: horse theft. He was arrested in Boston, but by then the Pinkerton detectives were hot on his trail, led by the determined detective Frank Geyer.
Geyer seems like a real-life Sherlock Holmes, piecing together clues and tirelessly pursuing justice.
Exactly. Geyer's dedication was remarkable. He meticulously traced Holmes's movements, uncovering the bodies of Alice and Nellie Peitzel, and eventually finding evidence that led to the discovery of Howard's remains. His unwavering pursuit of the truth was instrumental in bringing Holmes to justice.
It's amazing to think how painstaking detective work, even in a time without modern forensic techniques, could unravel such a complex web of deceit. But with the murder castle investigation making headlines, the media frenzy surrounding the case must have been overwhelming.
Oh, the media was all over this story. Imagine a time before social media where newspapers were the primary source of information.
Right.
They were vying for readers, and Holmes's case with its gruesome details and captivating villain was a goldmine.
So the media played a significant role in shaping public perception of Holmes and his crimes.
Absolutely, and not always in an accurate way. The press, driven by yellow journalism, often sensationalized the story, exaggerating details and even fabricating information to create a more dramatic narrative.
That's a point worth remembering as we delve further into this case. We have to be mindful of the media's influence and strive to separate fact from fiction. But ultimately, the evidence was overwhelming, leading to Holmes's trial and conviction for the murder of Benjamin Petitzel. What was his reaction during the trial? Did he maintain his facade of innocence, or did the mask finally slip?
Even in the face of overwhelming evidence, Holmes remained a master manipulator. He confessed to a staggering 27 murders, though some are disputed, and admitted to 6 attempted murders. His motive, he claimed, was purely financial, to cover his tracks and avoid being caught. But one can't help but wonder if there was a deeper, darker motivation at play.
A compulsion, perhaps, or a twisted sense of satisfaction. It's chilling to think about the depths of his depravity. But even more chilling is the fact that he requested a concrete-filled coffin buried deep to prevent grave robbing.
Wow.
It's as if he was still trying to exert control, even in death. But did he really go through with the execution? There were rumors that he somehow escaped, right?
Yeah, those rumors persisted for years, leading to the exhumation of his body in 2017. And because of that concrete coffin, his remains were remarkably well preserved, putting those escape theories to rest. But the fact that people believed he might have cheated death speaks to the mystique surrounding him, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. He remains an enigma, a figure who embodies both our fascination with and repulsion towards the darker side of human nature. But beyond the murders and the macabre details, it's important to remember the victims, the lives lost, and the families left devastated by his actions.
You're right. It's easy to get lost in the sensationalism, but the human cost of Holmes's crimes should never be forgotten.
Before we move on to explore the complexities of his personal life and the media's role in shaping his legacy, I want to pause for a moment and acknowledge the victims and their families. Their stories are a poignant reminder that behind the sensationalism lies a profound tragedy. As we delve deeper into this case, I can't help but think about the world Holmes inhabited, Chicago in the late 1800s. It was a city on the rise, a hub of innovation and progress, but also a place where the shadows could easily conceal a predator like Holmes. What was it about that time and place that allowed him to thrive?
Well, Chicago was experiencing rapid growth and transformation during this period. The Industrial Revolution was in full swing, drawing people from all walks of life, seeking opportunities and a fresh start.
Right.
It created this incredible melting pot of cultures and backgrounds, but also a sense of anonymity that someone like Holmes, with his multiple aliases and hidden past, could easily exploit.
So the city's bustling energy and constant influx of newcomers provided the perfect cover for Holmes to blend in and operate undetected.
Exactly. Imagine the sheer volume of people coming and going, making it nearly impossible to track everyone's movements or verify their identities. It was a time when records were less sophisticated and people could reinvent themselves with relative ease.
And let's not forget the World's Fair, a spectacle that drew millions of visitors to Chicago in 1893. That must have amplified the city's already chaotic energy and created even more opportunities for someone like Holmes.
Yeah, the World's Columbian Exposition was a momentous event, showcasing the latest advancements in technology, art, and culture. It was a dazzling display of human ingenuity, but it also attracted its fair share of opportunists and criminals seeking to exploit the crowds and the excitement.
So Holmes wasn't just operating in a bustling city. He was operating in a city on steroids, fueled by the energy and spectacle of the World's Fair.
Right.
It's almost as if the event itself provided a backdrop for his dark deeds. But beyond the crowds and the chaos, there were also deep social and economic disparities at play in Chicago during that time, weren't there?
Absolutely. While the city boasted of progress and prosperity, there were also pockets of poverty and desperation. Many people struggled to make ends meet, living in overcrowded tenements and facing harsh working conditions. This vulnerability made them easy targets for someone like Holmes, who used charm, promises of wealth, and even romance to lure his victims into his web.
It's a reminder that crime often flourishes in the shadows of progress, preying on those who are marginalized or struggling to find their footing in a rapidly changing world. But, as we explore the social and cultural context of Holmes's crimes, I'm also struck by the psychological aspects of this case. What insights can we gain from the source material about his mental state?
It's important to approach this question with caution. We can't diagnose a historical figure with certainty, especially with limited information about their inner life.
Sure.
However, we can analyze his actions and behaviors and draw some tentative conclusions.
Fair enough. But surely there are red flags, patterns that suggest something beyond just greed or ambition, right?
One of the most striking aspects of Holmes's personality was his utter lack of empathy or remorse. He seemed incapable of comprehending, let alone caring about, the suffering he inflicted on others. His victims were merely pawns in his elaborate schemes, disposable once they'd served their purpose.
That's a chilling thought. It's almost as if he dehumanized his victims, seeing them as obstacles to overcome rather than fellow human beings.
Exactly. And then there's his pathological lying. It wasn't just that he lied to deceive or manipulate, it was almost compulsive, as if he derived a perverse pleasure from constructing elaborate falsehoods and watching people believe them.
It seems like lying was more than a tool for him. It was almost an art form, a way of asserting control and demonstrating his superiority. But what kind of psychological profile might explain this combination of traits? The lack of empathy, the pathological lying, the cold-blooded ruthlessness.
Well, based on the available evidence, Holmes exhibited traits consistent with psychopathy, sociopathy, and narcissism. It's likely that he had a cluster of personality disorders that, combined with his intelligence and ambition, created a dangerous cocktail.
So a perfect storm of personality traits and circumstances that allowed him to operate undetected for so long and to inflict so much pain. It's a chilling reminder that evil can often hide in plain sight, masquerading as charm and charisma.
And it raises an important question. Could someone like Holmes exist today? Would he be able to manipulate and exploit people in the digital age?
That's a thought-provoking question. With the anonymity of the internet and the ease with which people share personal information online, it's not hard to imagine a modern-day Holmes using technology to his advantage. Instead of a physical murder castle, he might create a virtual one, luring victims into his web through carefully crafted online personas and elaborate scams.
It's a sobering reminder that while technology has advanced, human nature, with its capacity for both good and evil, remains unchanged.
Absolutely. But as we explore the psychology of H.H. Holmes, we can't overlook the legal system and how it grappled with this unprecedented case. What were some of the key legal challenges in prosecuting Holmes, especially considering this was the late 1800s, when forensic science was in its infancy?
You're right, the Holmes trial was a landmark case, not just for its sensationalism, but also for the legal precedents it set. Imagine trying to prove a case like this without the sophisticated forensic tools we have today.
Yeah.
There were no DNA tests, no fingerprint analysis, no crime scene investigation techniques as we know them.
Right.
Prosecutors had to rely heavily on circumstantial evidence, eyewitness accounts, and ironically, Holmes's own contradictory statements.
It sounds like a legal tightrope walk, trying to build a solid case against a master manipulator who is constantly trying to outsmart the system.
And let's not forget the challenge of conceptualizing serial murder itself.
Yeah.
This was a relatively new phenomenon, and the legal system was still struggling to understand and categorize this type of crime.
So Holmes's case, in a way, forced the legal system to evolve and adapt to the realities of a new era of criminal behavior.
Exactly. It exposed the limitations of existing legal frameworks and investigative techniques, leading to calls for reforms and advancements in forensic science. The Holmes trial, as horrific as it was, played a role in shaping the future of criminal justice.
It's a reminder that sometimes even the most tragic events can lead to positive change, spurring innovation and progress in unexpected ways. But despite the challenges, justice ultimately prevailed, right? Holmes was convicted and sentenced to death for his crimes.
Yes, thanks in large part to the tireless efforts of Detective Geyer. He meticulously gathered evidence, tracked down witnesses, and pieced together the puzzle of Holmes's crimes. It's a testament to the power of good old-fashioned detective work, even in an era with limited technology.
And it speaks to the importance of human intuition and persistence in the pursuit of justice. But, amidst all the legal complexities and sensationalized headlines, it's easy to lose sight of the human cost of this tragedy. We can't forget the victims, their families, and the profound impact Holmes's crimes had on their lives.
You're absolutely right. It's crucial to remember that behind every name, every piece of evidence, there's a story of a life lost, a family shattered, a community left reeling. The victims' stories are a poignant reminder of the human toll of Holmes's actions.
Let's take a moment to reflect on those stories, to acknowledge the pain and loss endured by those who crossed paths with H.H. Holmes. Their experiences deserve to be remembered, even as we continue to unravel the larger narrative of this case.
The stories remind us that the pursuit of justice must always be balanced with compassion and empathy for those who have suffered. We can't undo the past, but we can honor the memory of the victims by seeking truth, promoting understanding, and working to prevent such tragedies from happening again.
It's a powerful message, and one that we should carry with us as we continue to explore the complexities of true crime and the darker side of human nature. But beyond the victims and the legal proceedings, there's another layer to this story that we need to address. The media's role in shaping public perception of H.H. Holmes.
Yes, the media landscape of the late 1800s played a pivotal role in constructing the narrative surrounding Holmes. It was the era of yellow journalism, where newspapers competed fiercely for readers, often resorting to sensationalism, exaggeration, and even outright fabrication to sell copies.
So in a way, H.H. Holmes became a media creation, a larger-than-life villain whose story was shaped and molded by the press.
Absolutely. The newspaper seized upon the gruesome details of his crimes, often embellishing them with lurid descriptions of torture chambers and secret passages. They portrayed Holmes as a diabolical mastermind, a monster who preyed on the innocent. And Holmes, being the master manipulator he was, often played along, feeding the media with fabricated stories and exaggerating his own wickedness.
It's fascinating how the media of the time, much like social media today, had the power to construct narratives and shape public opinion. It makes you wonder how much of what we know about Holmes is based on truth and how much is the product of media hype and embellishment.
It's a challenge to sift through the layers of myth and misinformation that have accumulated over the years. It requires careful examination of primary sources, a critical eye for sensationalism, and a willingness to question everything we think we know about this case.
It's like being a historical detective, trying to separate fact from fiction and piece together a more accurate picture of the past. But even with the best intentions, there will always be gaps, mysteries that may never be fully solved.
That's the nature of history, and especially true crime history.
Yeah.
There are always multiple perspectives, conflicting accounts, and unanswered questions. And in the case of H.H. Holmes, the line between truth and fiction has been blurred so many times that it's difficult to know where one ends and the other begins.
It's both frustrating and intriguing, isn't it? The idea that there are still secrets lurking in the shadows of this case, waiting to be uncovered. But despite the challenges, I think it's important to strive for accuracy, to be mindful of the media's influence, and to approach the story with a critical and discerning mind.
I agree. The search for truth is an ongoing process. And in the case of H.H. Holmes, it's a journey that requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to embrace the ambiguity. But beyond the facts and the evidence, there's another dimension to this case that we haven't fully explored. The enduring legacy of H.H. Holmes and the fascination he continues to hold over the public imagination.
It's incredible how, even over a century after his death, Holmes remains a figure of intrigue and fascination. He's become a cultural icon, a symbol of evil and deception. Why do you think his story continues to resonate with people today?
Well, I think there are several factors at play. First, there's the sheer scale and brutality of his crimes. The murder castle, with its hidden rooms and macabre rumors, taps into our primal fears and morbid curiosity. It's like something out of a horror novel, but with the added weight of knowing that it actually happened.
It's that blend of reality and fiction that makes it so compelling, isn't it? The idea that someone could commit such heinous acts in a seemingly ordinary setting is both terrifying and fascinating.
And then there's the mystery surrounding Holmes himself.
Right.
He was a master manipulator, a chameleon who constantly reinvented himself, leaving behind a trail of lies and unanswered questions. It's like trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. That sense of incompleteness, of not knowing the full truth, keeps us hooked, wanting to dig deeper to uncover the secrets that Holmes took to his grave.
And let's not forget the cultural impact. Holmes has been the subject of countless books, movies, TV shows, even podcasts like ours.
Right.
Each generation seems to find new ways to interpret his story, to connect it to their own anxieties and fears.
It's true. Holmes has become a cultural touchstone, a symbol of the darkness that lurks beneath the surface of society. His story serves as a reminder of the fragility of civilization, the potential for evil to emerge even in the most unexpected places. But beyond the horror and fascination, I think there's also a desire to understand the man behind the monster. What drove him to commit such atrocities? What were the psychological forces at play?
It's the age-old question, isn't it? Are monsters born or are they made? In the case of H.H. Holmes, it seems like a combination of nature and nurture, a perfect storm of personality traits and circumstances that converge to create one of America's most notorious criminals.
And his story continues to intrigue us, to challenge us, to confront the darker aspects of human nature, and to grapple with the complexities of good and evil.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, exploring the historical, social, psychological, and legal dimensions of the H.H. Holmes case. But before we wrap up, I want to bring it back to the individual human stories.
You're right. It's easy to get lost in the sensationalism and the larger-than-life figure of Holmes himself. But at the heart of this tragedy are the victims and their families.
Let's take a moment to remember those whose lives were cut short, those who were left to grieve and grapple with the unanswered questions.
We can't erase the pain and suffering that Holmes inflicted, but we can honor the memory of his victims by seeking justice, by learning from the past, and by working to prevent such horrors from happening again.
Beautifully said. And I think that's a powerful message to carry with us as we continue to explore the complexities of true crime and the darker side of human nature.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that empathy, compassion, and commitment to justice are essential tools in our ongoing quest to understand and prevent evil.
Well, folks, there you have it. Part 2 of our deep dive into the twisted world of H.H. Holmes. Join us next time for the final part of this episode, where we'll explore the lasting legacy of this infamous figure and the ongoing fascination with his crimes.
Until then, keep those lights on.
It's amazing how, even now, well over a century later, H.H. Holmes continues to fascinate and horrify. He's become almost a mythical figure in American true crime. But how much of what we know is rooted in fact, and how much has been embellished or outright fabricated over time?
That's the challenge with a figure like Holmes.
Yeah.
The media of his time, that era of yellow journalism, thrived on sensationalism. Newspapers were on a constant battle for readers, and a story like Holmes's, the mysterious murder castle, the multiple identities, the sheer gruesomeness of it all was like catnip to them.
So we have to be extra careful about taking anything at face value. It's like trying to piece together a puzzle where some of the pieces are intentionally misleading. What are some specific examples of how the media might have distorted the truth about Holmes?
Well, think about the murder castle itself. The image most people have is this labyrinthine death trap full of torture chambers and secret passageways.
Yeah.
But as we discussed earlier, the reality was much more mundane. The building was shoddily constructed, and those hidden rooms were primarily used for hiding stolen goods and conducting shady business deals. The media, though, seized upon those architectural quirks and transformed them into something far more sinister.
It's a reminder that the power of a story often lies more in its telling than in its factual accuracy. But beyond the physical structure of the murder castle, what about the stories of Holmes's supposed methods and motives? Did the media play a role in shaping those perceptions as well?
Absolutely. The newspapers of the day were filled with lurid descriptions of Holmes's supposed cruelty, often attributing supernatural powers or satanic influences to him. They painted him as a mastermind of torture, a figure who reveled in inflicting pain. But much of that was pure fabrication, designed to sell papers and titillate readers.
So how do we, as people trying to understand this case over a century later, navigate this maze of truth and fiction? How do we get closer to a more accurate understanding of H.H. Holmes?
It requires a multifaceted approach. We have to go back to the primary sources: court records, police reports, eyewitness accounts, and carefully scrutinize them for any signs of bias or exaggeration. We also have to be aware of the broader historical context, the cultural anxieties and societal norms that might have influenced how Holmes was perceived and portrayed. And perhaps most importantly, we need to maintain a healthy skepticism, questioning everything we think we know, and being open to the possibility that some mysteries may never be fully solved.
It's like being a historical detective, carefully sifting through evidence, separating fact from fiction, and trying to reconstruct a more accurate picture of the past. But even with the most rigorous approach, there will always be limitations, right?
Of course. We're dealing with a finite amount of information, much of which is incomplete or potentially unreliable. And we're looking at it through the lens of our own time and our own understanding of the world, which inevitably shapes our interpretations. But that doesn't mean the search for truth is futile. The process of investigation, of questioning and analyzing is valuable in itself. It helps us develop critical thinking skills, hone our ability to discern credible sources from unreliable ones, and ultimately become more informed and discerning consumers of information.
That's a great point. It's not just about finding definitive answers. It's about developing the skills to navigate a world awash in information, much of which is misleading or outright false. And those skills are more important than ever in today's digital landscape, where misinformation can spread like wildfire.
Exactly. The story of H.H. Holmes, with all its layers of truth and fabrication, serves as a cautionary tale about the power of storytelling and the importance of critical thinking. But beyond the facts and the evidence, there's also the enduring legacy of this case to consider. Why does H.H. Holmes continue to capture our imagination even over a century after his crimes?
That's a question that has puzzled historians, psychologists, and true crime enthusiasts for generations. What do you think it is about this story that continues to resonate with people?
I think it's a confluence of factors. On a basic level, there's the sheer horror of it all. The idea of a charming, seemingly respectable man secretly operating as a cold-blooded killer. It's a terrifying concept that taps into our deepest fears about human nature.
It shatters our sense of security and makes us question who we can trust, which is a very unsettling feeling.
Exactly. And then there's the mystery, the unanswered questions, the gaps in our knowledge. We're drawn to stories that challenge us to think, to analyze, to try to make sense of the senseless. And Holmes, with his multiple identities, his web of lies, and his elusive motives, provides a puzzle that we can't resist trying to solve.
And let's not forget the cultural impact. Holmes has been the subject of countless books, movies, TV shows. He's become a figure of legend, almost a mythical boogeyman.
You're right. He's transcended the realm of true crime and become a cultural icon, a symbol of deception, manipulation, and the dark underbelly of the American dream. His story continues to be retold and reinterpreted, reflecting the anxieties and fascinations of each new generation.
So while the specifics of his crimes may fade with time, the larger themes of his story, the duality of human nature, the allure of the forbidden, the fragility of trust, those are timeless and universal. They'll continue to resonate with people as long as we grapple with the complexities of good and evil.
And that, I think, is the enduring legacy of H.H. Holmes. He serves as a mirror, reflecting back to us our own fears, our own vulnerabilities, and our own capacity for both darkness and light.
Well, folks, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the twisted world of H.H. Holmes. It's been a journey through history, psychology, and the darker side of human nature. We've explored the facts, the myths, the motivations, and the enduring legacy of this enigmatic figure. But more importantly, I hope we've sparked your curiosity, encouraged you to think critically, and perhaps even left you with a few more questions than answers. Because sometimes the most valuable part of a deep dive isn't in finding all the answers, but rather in embracing the ambiguity and continuing to explore the complexities of the world around us.
And as we close this chapter on H.H. Holmes, let's remember the victims and their families, whose lives were forever altered by his actions. Their stories, often overshadowed by the sensationalism surrounding Holmes, deserve to be heard and remembered.
Absolutely. Their experiences serve as a poignant reminder of the human cost of crime and the importance of empathy, compassion, and justice.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.
Thanks for tuning into Rogues Prime Galleria. I'm your host, Todd H., and tonight we checked into the twisted tale of H.H. Holmes, America's first serial killer, and the only man who thought a murder castle was a good investment. With secret passages, gas chambers, and a body chute, it was less real estate mogul and more DIY horror on a budget. Makes you wonder if you ever left a Yelp review for his own place. Cozy, killer views, 5 stars, would haunt again. A big thank you to my co-host Eli Stone, who could sniff out a lie faster than Holmes could build a hidden doorway, and Nora Steele, whose insights are cut cleaner than a trapdoor in a hotel floor. Together, we make sense of the senseless, or at least laugh darkly trying. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and share this show with your friends, and tap that notification bell, because unlike Holmes' guests, you want to know when the next episode drops. Stay alive, stay subscribed, and that's tonight's show. So we'll see you next time on Rogues Prime Galleria.
Step inside. Don't look back. Every shadow's got a name. From the alleys where the cold steel sings, to the suits with blood on diamond rings, ghosts of power, greed, and flame. Every legend leaves a stain. Whispers crawl through history's halls, mugshots hanging on haunted walls. Outlaws riding, empires fall. You're one step from it all. Truth gets buried, lies get tall, but we're the ones who hear the call. Welcome to the Rogues Galleria, where the wicked live forever. Every crime, every killer's tale, locked in time, we unveil. Yeah, the darkness tells ya you can't run from your past. In the Rogues Galleria, we make the legends last. We make the legends last. Ponzi kings with a silver grin, my boss deals in a world of sin. Six gun smoke in a desert sky, another outlaw lives a lie. Cold case files and a killer's code, buried truths on a broken road. Every story that chills your spine, we bring it back to life. No escape when the truth gets loud, faces staring from the crowd. Welcome to the Rogues Galleria, where the wicked live forever. Every crime, every killer's tale, locked in time, we unveil. Yeah, the darkness tells ya you can't run from your past. In the Rogues Galleria, we make the legends last. We make the legends last. Every name carved in the night, every wrong dressed up is right. If you listen, you'll hear them breathe in the gallery. They never leave. Welcome to the Rogues Galleria. Step inside, don't you falter. Every sin, every twisted mind, we expose what you won't find. Darkness calls ya, now you're part of the past. In the Rogues Galleria, you ain't leaving once you pass.